So I turned around and I took that moment to look, should I go in here or not? But it was so weird. I looked back at my car where I had started to go, and then I heard someone say hello, but in my gut, I knew that wasn't someone. That was my voice, but lower and weirder. But that door popped open and curiosity got the better of me. So I walked back over to the door and I opened up that door. I looked to the left and I could see what looked like the regular taco truck area where you pick up your food from and the workstations that they would be in, but nobody was there. And the weird thing was is there was meat cooking on the grill. There was the functioning of a kitchen going on and there was nobody there. And that is really, really unusual, especially because I had been sitting there for quite a while or standing there for quite a while waiting for somebody to come up, but I never smelled anything burning. I never saw any hazardous smoke or anything like that happen. It was like I was in some weird time slip or something. So I looked to the left and that's what I saw. I turned to the right and I just saw this. At first, I'm lost for words. It's hard for me to even tell you what I saw. I looked to the right and I basically saw what you would expect to see, right? You would expect to see some kitchen appliances and boxes, stored of food and different things like that. And you would expect to see other people back there prepping or refrigerators or things that would be normal to a kitchen. And I did see those things. But beyond those things, there was an open corridor and it was dark. And it also looked like, with the very limited light that was shining in on it, it also seemed like the floors had been freshly washed down. Now, the other thing that's really weird about this is that what I saw initially of the truck on the right hand side with the refrigeration and the storage, that was all normal. What was not normal was the additional corridor beyond that that was dark and illuminated and looked very scary. There was no one there. There was a lot of shadows and you would just see light reflected off of the ground and that it had been freshly cleaned. But the thing that was really weird about it is that it was longer than what the truck was. So as I was standing inside of that place, my gut was telling me to get out of there, but my curiosity was getting the better of me because I couldn't understand what I was seeing. I was seeing a taco truck that I pass all the time, and I live in this reality, right? So everything in my brain is telling me this is normal. But then when I'm looking down the corridor and I'm seeing it stretch out, this long corridor that's dark and shadows, and there's some type of lights in the background, but barely lighting it. And it is way longer of a haul than the taco truck is long. That is what really freaked me out. So, what was really weird about it was that I went past, the storage and the refrigeration and all that stuff, and I did start to peek my head into that hallway that was pretty scary. And it was very dark, but I kind of tiptoed my way into that hallway very cautiously and kept walking just very slowly down it. And the more that I walked down it, the more that I started to hear almost like humming, a slight humming sound. And I just slowly kept walking down that hallway to see where it led to because I was still thinking or lying to myself, telling myself that on the other end of that, there would be some other room that I would open up and there would be, the manager or whoever it was. While at the same time, I knew this is a incredibly like impossible situation because there's no way that this length of hallway is here. It's just, it can't be here because it's way longer than the taco truck is. It's not underground. It was just an extension. And there's just no way that this could be happening. This could be here. But it's a weird thing that your brain does to try and rationalize it. So I kept walking down and I was hearing this humming, and then the humming started to become more um, I don't know how you say it, it just became more clear what the humming was and that the humming was actually chanting. The closer that I got to the humming, the more I knew that there was something on the other end of that. And I came upon a little bit more light as I had to turn towards the left. So this long hallway just continued to be this kind of damp, wet floor with lights shining off of it, but very shadowy. And on the sides, it was just all blackness. And I continued to walk down this hall and get closer and closer to that sound. And then it kind of veered me off towards the left. So I went off towards the left, but as I did that, I started to see some candlelight type of flicker, and I slowed down a little bit because I didn't know what I was going to see. I didn't know who was there. And it wasn't the kind of sound that sounded good. It sounded like there was some sort of, I don't know, ritual type of prayer or something happening that was foreign to me, but it sounded scary. It didn't sound like the normal sounds that you would expect to hear in a taco truck. It was something a little more devious. And when I peeked my head around that corner, I saw a group of robed people in this circle, and they were clearly involved in some sort of ritual. I saw blood scattered on the floor, but I couldn't see what was in the center of it. I just knew that it was not something good. And I made sure not to make a sound at all. I saw this ritual type of, I don't know if it was ritual killing or if it was something, but there was definitely blood present. And there were robed figures saying things I couldn't understand. And it was just, my head just couldn't understand what I was seeing and what I was experiencing because one, I couldn't really, the reality did not support even where I was. And then, to go from taco truck into this thing that I'm seeing that has religious significance, and it's got people in robes and chanting, and then I'm seeing blood on the floor, and I'm not sure what that is. Is that an animal or is it something worse? I didn't know what this was. I just knew that this was way more than, a part-time job, and I did not want to get involved with whatever this was. So I just very quietly pulled myself back as far as I had come out to peek over into that left side area where all of them were. And I quietly backed myself out of that, and I just turned around and ran down the hall. Hey, Spooky Review Club, let me know what you're thinking, and if you like this so far, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or leave a comment. And it's weird too because you would think that running would cause some noise from my shoes, but it was almost as though I was in this space that it didn't have time. It didn't have, I don't know, it was like I was in some other dimension where you couldn't hear any sounds of my running, and yet I was able to hear the sounds inside that other area where there was people chanting and humming. It was like the sound was only reserved for that ritual of whatever that demonic thing was that they were doing, and the rest of the world had just become mute. So I ran down the hall, and I noticed that I could hear the sound of their ritual singing and that humming sound getting large. I was really scared, and my Like my heart was pounding because I was like, oh my God, what if I get trapped in here? What if I get towards the end of the taco truck and something closes off and I'm stuck in this portion of this dimensional thing that could not exist in this taco truck? What if I don't make it to the entrance of the real taco truck and I get stuck in here? And these are all the things that were going through my mind. I was just panicking, but I just ran and I ran and I ran, and I ended up getting to the threshold of where the actual taco truck was, where the refrigeration and all the storage was, to that door that was still open, and I just went and booked it out that door, and I did not stop running until I got to my car, and I got in my car and I drove out of that. I drove the opposite direction, not coming past the taco truck to get out, but I drove the other direction, that I had to go and maneuver through other buildings and little alleyways, but I didn't want to go anywhere near that taco truck again. I just booked it out of there and went home to the safety of my house, my sister and my kids. And you better believe that I had no intentions of trying to get a job at this taco place, this demonic taco place. Maybe they are ritually killing their meat and they're selling it and serving it up, Satan tacos or whatever it is. But this crazy taco was just a little too crazy for me, and I just decided I was going to try and find something else that was a little less dangerous as a part-time job. Now, the weird thing is that I actually called that place because in my mind, I also knew that it was not possible what just happened to me to happen. It just wasn't possible. All of that space could not have been in that taco truck, and I knew that. So my mind was like just blown by this experience that I just had. And so I ended up calling them. And as soon as I called them because I wanted to see what happens. Is somebody going to answer the phone? How could they have a taco truck sitting there and have nobody in it? How could that be that the stuff was cooking on the stove the entire time that I was waiting for that 7 minutes, and however long it was that I was in that other dimensional space? And when I came out, there was still nothing was burning and there were still no people there. How is that possible? It just seemed weird to me. So the curiosity got the better of me. And once I told my sister what happened and I calmed down, I had a glass of wine. I had to call. My sister said, why don't we call and see if anybody answers? And I called, and I was so shocked that somebody picked up, and it was a really friendly person who answered the phone. Crazy taco, how can I, what'd you say? Crazy taco, can I take your order? And I was still shaken, and I said, I was just there, like within 20 minutes ago. And I had come by there and I told her what time it was, and I waited outside for 7 minutes and there was nobody there. And she sounded really confused. And she said, there's 3 of us here and there's always been somebody in here the entire time. We never leave the taco truck with nobody in here, and we never work alone. There's always at least 3 of us here. So I don't know what to tell you. We've always been here. And I told her the truck, somebody opened up the side gate for me to go in. And I went in past the refrigeration and the storage area down that long, long hall. And I could just tell that while I was talking to her about that, she was getting freaked out because what I was describing just couldn't happen. She had already told me that there were people in that taco truck the entire time, and they never saw me. I never saw them. So if we never saw each other, where the hell was I? Thanks for watching.